Well, good day. Let's see, it's 9:40 now. I got my bed made, got my hair and my teeth brushed, put a load of clothes in. I put my camera down where I can talk. I still haven't got my clothes on, but it's because I'm going to decide what I'm going to do. But right now, let's talk about my life. I was born in 1948 in a place called Keatsville, Missouri, which is population 440 people. A small town. Back when I was little, well, we moved when I was around 6, but used to be everybody parked a car in the middle of the street. And what I remember about the town, they had, of course, a grocery store, a couple of them, and they had pop, but it was in a machine with water, something I never got. But then they had, I remember the drugstore, Prather's drugstore. And I got in trouble one time because I sat down. Back then they oiled the floors, and I sat down on the oil floor and got my hind end whipped over that. Keatsville, I have a lot of memories in town. Once they had a place, it was a honky-tonk. They called it the White House. And my dad would go there on Saturday nights, and he'd leave Mom and I sitting in the car with some grapes to eat or something. And poor Mom, she got aggravated, and she said, "Come on, Joy, we ain't sitting in this cold car. We're going to go to that White House." So we went in there, and she set me up on one of the bar stools. And I could still remember that stinking beer people were drinking. And one man grabbed my mom, my dad was in there, grabbed my mom and said, "Hoop it up, babe." And that's about all it took for my dad. Boy, he grabbed Mom and me, took ourselves out of there on high. Needless to say, there wasn't no more times of him going to the White House and leaving us in a cold car to eat some grapes. That all ended that night. Other things that I remember in Keatsville was my Aunt Bestana. She lived on the outskirts of town. And I used to love, her name was Bestana and Liberty Phelps. They had a dairy farm, and I loved going there. She'd fix oats with the cow's cream, and it was better than any candy probably you could taste. And then, let's see, her son, her only son, lived in town. That was Ole Phelps and Helen. And I got to think about everything while I'm in town to tell you. I don't guess there was much else. There is a few things that I could tell, but, one time Martha and Shirley came home, and that was my 2 older sisters. They come home and said, "Mom, why is Dad's Jeep parked down to so-and-so?" That was a lady that run the shoe store. Well, he was like a lot of men. He was somewhere where he shouldn't. And it made my mom, she was going to be operated on, this lady. And Mom says, "I hope she don't ever come out from the operating table." And the bad part is she didn't. So that's that on my mom and dad. I had good parents, so I had good parents. Dad wasn't no different than anybody else, a lot of men. Anyhow, we'll go on out to the country now. Out in the country, we had a home in the hills, and we got back and forth with the Jeep. And Mom didn't like it because Dad hauled coonhounds, which during the Depression, Mom and Dad lived off the garden, and what you shot and killed in the woods. That's the way they lived, you know. Mom lost one child, a little boy. He was full term. The cattle had hit the fence, and Mom said she felt him twist, and he choked to death on his cord. And Mom said that was the hardest thing, to have a stillborn baby. And he would have been 6 years older than me. And Dad buried him in a boot box on the property. And I can remember my first day at school. We rode the bus, and I brought all my school supplies home. I don't think that's something I should have probably done. They should have been left in the desk, but I was so backwooded, I didn't know nothing. But I do know there wasn't nobody there to meet me at the end of the road, and we lived a long way off the road and had a mean bull in the pasture. And I run all the way home and lost every school supply I owned on the way running back to the house. That's funny, but it's kind of sad, too. There wasn't nobody there to meet me. But anyhow, another time happened when I got a little older. Well, I wasn't too much older. I was around 6. The Calvert boys rolled the window down and stuck their tongue out at me. And I picked up a rock, and I threw that thing and busted the whole back window. It just shattered, bzzz, like that. And boy, I went home and I told Mom, I said, Mom, there's a little girl threw a rock and hit the bus and broke it. What will happen to her? Oh, Mom said, that'll be bad. The parents will have to pay the paper, that glass, and that'll cost, Joy. They'll be in a lot of trouble. And I was scared to death. I thought, oh. So the next morning I got on there, and I knew the bus driver. He was kind of family-like. His name was Raymond Coy. I said, Raymond, will you not tell Mom and Dad about this? All right, Joy. I won't, but don't you be throwing no more rocks, you hear me? And you know, he kept his word until I was 30-some. He come to Weston at the tobacco house in Weston, and he told Mom about that, what had happened. Well, Mom said, that sounds like Joy. But anyhow, another thing we did is Linda Comer, my cousin, and Janelle lived down there. They live in a little house across from that fancy General Price's home. And Linda and I and Janelle would go to General Price's house, and Uncle Boney lived there. And back then they had the big plugs of bologna and cheese. And I had a tablecloth over it. Me and Linda and Janelle would get in there and make us a big sandwich of bologna. We thought he was rich because he had great big long bologna and big bunch of cheese. Anyhow, we'd eat, and then we'd cover the table up and take off. That's one of the things we did. And then we used to go to Miss Fetzer's. She had a TV, and we'd watch Pinky Lee on that. I'm trying to think of everything that we did in Keatsville worth mentioning before I go to another chapter. I think that I probably have covered everything that I need to talk about Keatsville. We left when I was around 6, and we went to Weston, Missouri. And that was my life in Keatsville, Missouri. I think I've covered everything. I was young. Oh, one thing that I forgot was the Huckster truck that would come through the hills. And it carried live chickens and candy bars and some chewing gum and things. And of course, I never got nothing. I got one little package of Juicy Fruit gum, and that had to last all week. And I could still remember I'd be barefooted, and dust. It was so dusty it would cover the top part of my feet when I'd run out there to that truck. It'd come through once a week, and that was big stuff, you know. And I think I've covered everything that happened in Keatsville worth mentioning, you know. And next time I talk to you, we'll start talking about Weston, Missouri, where I moved to. So I'll quit now. I don't know how long I've talked. I didn't time my clock. I don't think it's too much. Anyhow, you all have a good day. It's Monday, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mow grass today. I haven't heard anything from Jeraine about cleaning Jasper's room, so I'll go out and do that. I haven't tidy up the kitchen and sweep. That's always every day, seem like. You all have a good Monday, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.